Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube.
Are
this
we
is
rolling?
Chucky 2009. Yeah, we are.
Really?
I'm going to introduce you now.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube. This is Chucky 2009, and he's going to show you how to TIG weld aluminum, and I'm going to show you how to MIG weld aluminum.
Alright, today we're going to be doing a little bit of comparing and contrasting between these two highly popular methods of joining, well, you know, aluminum. This is a somewhat highly requested video, and we've got some cool new wire to try out, so figured why not go ahead and throw something together for y'all. So alright, first off, let's talk about TIG welding aluminum. Well, one of the main advantages of this process is just how freaking good a properly done aluminum TIG weld can look. A lot of the time when you see on someone's website or someone's bragging about their badass welding skills or whatever, a lot of the time that is with aluminum TIG. Because of the way the puddle flows, it's a little bit different than steel, stainless, even titanium. It's a very gloppy puddle, so to speak, and every time you add a little bit of filler metal, you get one of those nice perfect dimes. The way it flows lets you, get pretty much a perfect looking weld, at least in my opinion. Now there's a lot of ways to get good looking welds on pretty much any material, but your average properly done aluminum TIG weld is a beautiful thing. Now, another thing to keep in mind is with TIG welding, as you know, you take your filler metal in one hand and your torch in the other, and you use your torch hand, wearing gloves and your appropriate Jackson safety gear, of course, to apply heat to the weld, and this is how you apply your filler, obviously, and some types of joint configurations take different amounts of heat and different amounts of filler metal, and because you're applying the two things separately, you can get that dialed in pretty much perfectly, whereas if you spool gun it or MIG weld it, you pull the trigger and there's wire going in there and there's heat going in there, you pretty much just hope for the best, but manually adding things, you can get it pretty much dead on. Now, another thing to keep in mind about TIG welding aluminum is the equipment you need to do it and do it well is very expensive. You can't use a simple stretch start setup off your average, tombstone weld or whatever. You really need a somewhat advanced machine. This is the Invertig 221 from our friends over at HTP America. It's an AC/DC TIG welder. It has all sorts of various modes you can put it in. There's a lot this machine can do. You can even get them dual voltage if you want. And this one even has a water cooler, and when you're talking about stuff like this, the dollar signs pretty much just start to add up. Pete, what do you think?
What do you think would something like this cost?
Yeah.
I don't know. The machine is about $3,000. It's a 221 AC/DC dual voltage. It runs on 110 or 220. The water cooler, that's the old style HTP water cooler. The new water cooler, by the time you get the water cooler, the hoses, everything, I think it's a $600 upgrade, so it's like $3,600, $3,700, and by the time that you have the tank, by the time you put your first weld in, you bought your filler material, you're about $4,000 down.
It adds up very quickly, and like I said, this takes somewhat advanced equipment. I mean, this is getting up there. It's expensive to set up, but you get your beautiful welds with it. And I guess now we're gonna go ahead and lay a nice aluminum TIG bead. Well, we'll see how nice it is, but let's lay an aluminum TIG bead. All right, let's see what we got over here, buddy. This aluminum is, we're gonna have some cleaning action from the welder, of course, the AC balance, and that's another advantage of aluminum TIG. You can dial that into whatever you need. And so we got a little bit of oxidation on there, maybe a little bit of crap, and we're just pretty much just gonna weld through it. We've got this machine set more towards the cleaning side of things, so that's an advantage. And yeah, let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Alright, and there's your aluminum TIG weld. Now we do have a little bit of crap on here because we're not exactly working with clean material. But as you can see, every time I dip the filler rod in, we got one of these nice ripples going on. And yeah, pretty much just started back here, ran along, and was able to taper down the current to minimize the crater and pinhole at the end. So alright, that and all of its awesomeness is AC TIG on aluminum. Alright. Let's talk about spool gun welding.
Spool gun welding. You will need a spool gun.
Ah, that's important.
Yeah, we have a spool gun here. This is a HTP RSG 250. and you need a power source, which any wire feed welder, aka MIG welder or constant voltage power source, can be adapted to take one of those spool guns because it has its own control box. So once you have if you already own the wire welder, you just have to buy the spool gun and hook it up to it. As far as welding, it welds just like regular MIG. You weld the spray transfer, and it's pretty easy to learn. It's a high metal deposition rate, so that means you move fast. There's a lot of wire coming out, a lot of linear footage of weld that you cover in shorter time than TIG, and it even works limited outdoors if the wind is not blowing too hard, if you work on dump trucks or trailers, and that's about it. So that is the weld we just did, and it shows some spool gun or aluminum MIG specific characters. First of all, you see the first inch here is kind of cold sitting on top of it. What happens there is the material is not preheated to temperature. If you preheat the material, then this is eliminated. As soon as the material gets saturated with heat from welding, you have a nice clean bead. And where you stop at the end, because this material is pretty thin, we're looking at about 1/8 inch wall. I cannot really fill the crater on stop because the material is too thin. I would just burn through because the heat is pretty excessive. The way how we have the spool gun set right now, it would perform well really on a corner joint, inside corner joint, or some 1/4 inch material.
Doesn't clean up half bad, YouTube. Alright, now, I guess we just got to clean up some material here to do our clean welds with. We got, let's see, what do we have over here? We've got, looks like 4 of these nice blocks, so we'll just do 2 of them as the clean metal samples. And basically, you're going to want to do something to deal with the oxide layer. The aluminum oxide layer is a very hard to go through layer of material that's on top of the regular aluminum metal. It's very, very small. It's like several thousandths of an inch. I can look up the exact number. And it's a little bit hard to weld through. And with AC TIG, the alternating current, it's called cathodic bombardment. It basically blasts this layer into nothing. And one of the advantages of TIG welding aluminum is you can control how much cleaning action or how much penetration you're getting. But you always want to clean your material to the best of your abilities in that given situation. I mean, we all know you can't get everything 100% clean all the way. But the way I'm going to clean this here is with some acetone. This is very popular. This is a very popular method, and a rag. And then I'm going to take a stainless steel wire brush to it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're going to do both of these things, you might want to do the acetone first and remove the crap on the surface, because otherwise when you hit it with the brush, you end up pushing that stuff like into the aluminum, and it's not a good time. So I'll just put some of this here acetone on the rag and scrub this up. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff on this. Most of it's coming off.
Yeah, this was out in the open for about 2 years, laying next to the shop.
So this is something that maybe someone that thinks they might be doing some welding repairs could relate to.
Yeah, trailers that sit out in the open, equipment that sits out in the open.
Oh yeah. That's all for the acetone. And this stuff is really flammable. You really should wear some kind of plastic or neoprene gloves, whatever those things are. But we'll deal with that later. Alright, I guess I'm going to set these up somewhat like such. So I'm going to do the top of this and these 2 sides. Alright. Alright, probably should have cleaned that a little bit better, but overall, there's your brief, quick and dirty demonstration of an aluminum AC TIG weld. Did the arc shot turn out okay?
Yeah.
That's kind of nasty looking.
Yeah, I know.
Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that's our cleanest sample so far. Yeah, like I said, Pete just kind of broke it and went ahead with a flap disc. So, any comments?
No comments, it needs to be clean.
No comments, definitely needs to be clean. Alright, so there you go, TIG welding, tubing that's been out in the weather for like 2 solid friggin' years. Next up, I guess, we're going to be talking about some spool gun action.
Alright YouTube, this is a HTP RSG 250 spool gun which can be adapted to any constant voltage or MIG welder power source. Price range anywhere, depends on what welding machine you have, from like $700 to $1,100.
Okay.
Of course you have to have the welding machine already, the power source. Today we're running it off of a Miller. And the nice thing about the wire, it's fast, it's forgiving, it's relatively easy to learn. I can use it outdoors on dump trucks or flatbed trailers or water tanker trucks. And what we're doing today is we're running some 35 thousandths wire in here from ROCKMOUNT, which, as far as I understand, they specialize in repair alloys. So this is not 4043, this is not 5356, but let's ask Steve from ROCKMOUNT and he will give us the inside scoop.
Hey, shop teacher here. ROCKMOUNT manufactures maintenance or repair welding alloys. So Neptune is our aluminum line. You can get stick, you can get TIG. Our wire does a great job. It's stronger, it's more ductile than the 4043 or the 5356. And it has a lot of deoxidizers which help clean up. So Peter's gonna weld on some dirty aluminum, which you guys who have dump boxes and trailers and you're hauling garbage and aggregate, you're gonna really appreciate that. You typically hit it with a stainless steel brush, get the big crap off, and this will go right through and give you a strong, porosity-free ductile weld.
All right.
Peter?
So Steve, since we tried cleaning this aluminum, Chucky tried to clean it, I tried to clean it, and we both were only like semi-successful. We still see contamination with the TIG machine. So what I will do is, this aluminum that has been laying outside my shop for 2 years, we will tack together, and I wipe it off with a glove, Steve. Okay, we're not gonna use a wire brush on this. We'll see how good your wire really is. All right.
All right.
Okay. Let's tack it up. All right, let's clean this up. No peppering, no cold toes, really nice weld. And this all on dirty metal. Steve, you have a nice wire there. So the ancient old argument, what is stronger, MIG or TIG, and we broke a bunch of welds today and we deformed a bunch of pipes, and we come to the conclusion if used correctly,
Either one's good.
it's a toss-up. Either one is really good. Now don't forget, this was through dirty material, and on TIG we tried this with fresh material or cleaned material as to best of our abilities. Here we didn't even try hard.
No.
We just brushed it off with a glove so that the loose particles, the sand and the dirt fell off. We didn't even hit it with the wire brush to attempt to break the oxide layer.
Yep. This about concludes the video. So at the end of the day, YouTube, what do I think we've learned here? Well, TIG's a little bit more tedious. It's a little bit slower and it doesn't put down as much metal, but because you control the filler metal and the heat, so to speak, independently, you don't have that cold start on non-preheated material. It's easier to work with thinner material to thicker material, and you can get that flawless looking row of dimes thing. Not so much on this dirty stuff. It's not as forgiving on dirty stuff, but those are some of the advantages of TIG welding aluminum. The spool gun MIG, on the other hand, puts down a lot of metal and it does it very quickly. And because it's all happening, you know, the wire and the current are coming from the same exact source, you don't have quite as much control over it. But if you have like a 50-foot weld to put down on half-inch material, you really want to sit there and put in like 5 passes of TIG. Now that'd be a spool gun job. If you have something really thin, maybe go into something really thick, you might want to look more towards the TIG side of things. But hopefully this video has helped anybody out who's thinking of maybe getting set up to weld some aluminum. Some things to consider here. And well, I guess this about wraps it up. You got anything to add, Pete?
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
Farewell from Caledonia, Wisconsin.
All right. Thanks for coming out, Steve. If anyone, hey, do you make this this wire in like a TIG wire?
We have TIG, we have stick.
All right. Okay, so what we're showing just isn't, it's not a MIG only type of deal.
Correct.
All right, cool. Well, I guess this about wraps up the video. So big thanks to Pete for letting us film this in his shop, and a big thanks to Steve for supplying the wire. And thanks for watching, YouTube. Yeehaw.